Thanks to all my supporters on Ko-Fi or Coffee. If you want to support me there as well, please have a look. You can choose the amount you want to give me either one time or monthly. And monthly supporters will be listed in special videos like this here, no matter the amount. Oh man, another video essay that probably will make me more enemies than friends. In this video I want to show you two things. But both weren't really worth their own video and I was able to tie them together, so I did. First of all, people are screaming for a quote-unquote Operation Health in basically every service game out there, and it makes me sick for a very specific reason. Second, I wanted to clarify why the announcement BHVR made will not save Dead by Daylight to the extent many content creators are currently saying it will. So please hear me out and watch the full video before writing a comment. Back in 2017, Rainbow Six Siege announced Operation Health, postponing the content that was planned for that season originally to the following 3 seasons. With this, one of the 4 seasons that Rainbow Six Siege provides every year was dedicated to upgrading, improving and fixing issues around the servers, structures and general improvements of the backend and technologies used for the game. At the same time, the team used this also to add some small changes and fixes into the game, making it overall ready for the future content to come. Operation Health was a pause of new content or systems used to clean up all the things in the backend. And ever since, players who don't understand what Operation Health means exactly are just using it as a synonym for magically fixing all the issues in a game that they love, hate or simply play because they have nothing better to do. Why do I claim I know all of this? Well, first of all, this is what and how Ubisoft announced it themselves on their website. You can pause here to read the text on the screen on the website I show you here. And second, I was working for Ubisoft at the time. Not specifically for Rainbow Six Siege, but still, I got the gist of what happened there. So in this part, I'm not exactly raging against BHVR, but more about the community, because BHVR announced what is going to happen as a quality of life update. As everyone probably hates me now already and wants to correct me in the comments simply because they think they know better, let's go to why I'm annoyed about every freaking community crying for an Operation Health for their own game, and why what BHVR announced is, in my opinion, a smoke bomb at best and won't improve the game to a level every player wants it to be, especially with the Five Nights at Freddy's release at the door. As I already said earlier, Operation Health was a pause of content. Nothing new was added. Current systems, server structures, the way updates were rolled out and many more backend things got upgraded and improved. Focus here is on backend. On the front end, sure, some small things were updated, making some things in the game a bit easier, like one-step matchmaking, and yeah, that wasn't a thing before that, and some other minor changes to the UI. What Operation Health was not, however, was a major wave of fancy looking and listening quality of life changes and upgrades that plaster new systems on already existing, broken and defect ones, and also not bug fixes in the actual game. And that's, in my opinion at least, where the issues of DbD currently are lying. Operation Health, in the sense that Ubisoft performed on Rainbow Six Siege, didn't help on any of these things. There was no major focus on bugs or quality of life improvements. Quite the opposite, all these changes and fixes were brought afterwards, not during these 3 months of Operation Health. So every time I see people crying for something like this in Dead by Daylight, Hunt Showdown or any other live service game I'm playing, I'm somehow infuriated. Just to clarify, I understand that words and names and titles can change their meaning over time. However, there was only one real Operation Health and it met its set goals with flying colors. And if people ask for Operation Health, just like in Rainbow Six Siege, to fix the one game they are playing and loving and caring for, but the game faces completely different issues, it just shows how little people understand what they are talking about. And at the same time it makes me sad as well, because these people are loving the game they're playing, they just don't understand what they're talking about. It makes themselves look dumb, even though they aren't, probably. So please just stop using the term Operation Health for simply fixing any game issues, no matter what they are, because it just became one of those buzzwords basically that are freaking me out, because if you know what they meant originally, it only shows how little you understand using the terms out of context, and that's not good for any of us, I guess, but that's just a small part of it. What is the plan of behavior then? Well, it's a quality of life update package, and that's probably it. And that's also what behavior calls it, so I'm good on that end. But that's not enough to fix DbD as many content creators currently claim or hope. And let me back this up, because I won't just say that and don't tell you why. All these quality of life changes and all the gameplay changes announced, especially in phase 1, are really good. But the first and biggest problem of Dead by Daylight is not quality of life. It's bugs, and these are only mentioned in the small printed notes, saying, and more including bug fixes for long-standing issues. Not exactly what convinces me that behavior understood the actual problems of the game. Most of the new quality of life things are built on top of already existing systems. Systems that are partially bugged or broken, some of them even to the core. So instead of fixing the issues, we get a new paint job on it. Or at least that's what I understand there. We have some issues in this game for months and years that never have been addressed, not even talked about. And we expect them to fix them now. There is a bug that affects Huntress, Slinger and Trickster for quite some time now, over a year, where survivors are losing the upper half of the hitbox as if they would crouch the whole time, basically. Even if they are running. Here's a clip. Throwing knife looks so slow, holy shit. Now look at this. Huh? What? Yo! That bug should have been fixed a year ago. Sorry, I'm sorry for the screaming. And that's just one bug that is in the game for over a year now. Absolutely game breaking for 3 killers in its fundamentals, and not being addressed ever since. And yes, it has been reported to behavior several times. Talking about all the bugs, killer specific ones as well as general ones, common occurring ones as well as rare ones. That's an insane amount of bugs on behavior's plate. And yes, some of these bugs might not occur to every player and some are really rare to be spotted, because the criteria for them to happen is insanely difficult to fulfill. But the more players you have, the more bugs will occur. And with the Five Nights at Freddy's release, there will be thousands or even tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands more players checking in on the game over all platforms. Keep in mind, we only have the official player numbers from Steam, nothing else. And that's not even all on PC that is there. There are also Epic Games Store and Microsoft Store to buy the game in. And on top of that, there are all the consoles, PlayStation 4 and 5, 2 generations of Xbox consoles and also the Nintendo Switch. And yeah, that's still a thing, I still have no idea how they ported it there, but what I've heard is it's more of a stop motion movie there than an actual game, but I also have a Switch, I'm not sure if I would like to play it there. In addition, we will take in many of the DbD mobile players of the next few weeks, because I can imagine as DbD mobile is going to be shut down, many players will swamp over to the main game, quote unquote main game on PC. I still think mobile was actually the main game because, to be honest, there was more content, it looked better in some regards, they had more options, more personalization, more features. Anyway, because no matter how stable the game runs in itself, if your hit detection causes issues, hitboxes are bugged out, and things that are obvious hits are suddenly not anymore. Just because the game server doesn't feel like it, the players will drop the game again. And no matter if you're casually playing with friends or if you play it on a daily basis and grind up both sides every month, if you have no fun, you won't keep playing the game. Fixing all these bugs and facing all these challenges in terms of player numbers will take a lot longer than the 4-month behavior said from March to June for phase 1. And I'd bet a lot of money on that fact, if I had some. And even if they magically could fix all of them until June, this is not including all the promised quality of life updates, and I have no idea how anybody could manage that. And here we also need to consider the team was downsizing the last few months, throwing a lot of people out and not hiring new ones. And especially the loss of veterans is always very painful for a dev team. To summarize this, there's way too much work on the plate to actually get this game fixed in time for the Five Nights at Freddy release. One thing to add here, there are so many killer specific bugs that are only affecting one killer. But if you have hundreds or thousands of new players for the new Five Nights at Freddy's chapter, then you need to consider they also will play against all the other killers. And they will also play as all the other killers. And they will also play the whole survivor stuff and shenanigans. Getting all this worked out to be flawless for the FNAF release is literally impossible. To be blunt, no, at least not in the way players think this will happen. For example, I see many content creators celebrating the perk, loadouts and preview part as, hey, we can finally see each other's loadouts, while the announcement already claims, no, you can only see your own perks while being in the lobby. Some people already had that feature for a while as it was tested randomly on players, and you might have seen that in a few streams from some people, where some people had it and others didn't. The game will look better afterwards, and maybe some of the more major bugs will be fixed, but I have serious doubts about the game being actually stable until summer. Please don't overhype yourself about this announcement and brace yourself for impact, because just in case I'm right, the Five Nights at Freddy chapter could be potentially killing Dead by Daylight if the game performs badly on release of it. And then there's another shadow on the horizon. All of that is not even touching the second phase of this plan yet, where they actually said to bring more anti-slugging, anti-tunneling, anti-camping stuff, cornering the killer's options even more. We don't know exactly how this works yet, but at the moment behavior starts going into a direction that actually could kill the game, because they are doing something that killed many other asymmetrical games too. I know this is not the only reason why other games failed, but many other asymmetrical games died simply because they made the oppressive role less interesting to play as. Some failed on that from the start, like Video Horror Society. Others, like Evolve, had a good start, but gave the originally weaker side more power over time, driving away the people that played on the oppressive role. By the way, Ash vs Evil Dead had a similar issue. So if behavior continues to cut down killers' options and powers and leaving less and less things to deal with survivors, what do you think will happen? Killer mains that love playing that oppressive role will stop playing the game. Then survivors need to wait ages for queues, and eventually they'll also drop the game because they can't find any games anymore, or at least not in a reasonable time. As much as many of the players out there hate the fact, but the main attractions of Dead by Daylight are the killers. If you only play Survivor, you need at least 20% killer players per game to keep this game going. What happens when that balance gets destroyed, you can see every time 2v8 is out. More people want to play killer then, as it's a rare occasion to play with friends on killer side, and it leads to stupidly high waiting times on killer side, as there are way too many killers compared to survivors. And don't get me wrong here, I'm not saying that tunneling, slugging and camping aren't problems. They are for sure. But you simply cannot just cut things away from the killer side and not giving them anything else in return. In the last years, we lost camping and tunneling against bully squads. We can't grab people while they unhook others anymore. We need to keep people on hook for an additional 10 seconds per stage now, and certain killers were nerfed to the ground, like Trickster or Skull Merchant. I made separate videos on these two. If you're interested, have a look at them, link in the description. And what we got in return was reoccurring hooks, which is a lot of help, and finishing mores, which, to be honest, are probably the worst thing I've ever seen coming in DbD. But my opinion on mores in general is bad, and I think they are bad for the game's balance and health. But let's not just open that can of worms for now. Thanks for watching my video. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like and leave your comments in the opinions. Exactly, yeah, sure. I'll leave the blooper in now. Anyways, if you didn't like it or disagree with me, also let me know, please. I'd like to discuss it with you. But please keep it civil. That being said, until next time, stay safe and have a good one.